Talking to a friend one evening about relationships, not the dramatic kind you hear about all the time, the ones filled with arguments, jealousy, and constant reassurance, but the quiet kind, the kind that just works. She seemed genuinely happy, not the kind of happiness people perform for others, but something calmer and deeper, the kind that shows up in the way someone speaks about their partner, without tension, without worry. At one point, she mentioned something that caught my attention. I've never really felt jealous in my marriage. I remember pausing for a moment, unsure if I'd heard her correctly, because her husband, as she described him, sounded like the kind of man most people would worry about. He's attractive, confident, and naturally social. The type of person who connects easily with people. His job means he's constantly surrounded by interesting, talented, and often very beautiful people. The kind of situation that makes most relationships feel fragile. You know the pattern, the little doubts that creep in. Checking phones when someone leaves the room, reading too much into a delayed text, that quiet knot of anxiety in your stomach while pretending everything is fine. But she didn't seem to carry any of that. There was no edge in her voice when she spoke about him, no subtle tension or hesitation, just calm. And honestly, that calm made me curious. So eventually I asked her the question that had been sitting in the back of my mind. Don't you ever worry? She looked at me for a moment, not defensive, not surprised, just thoughtful. Why would I? She asked gently. I waited for the usual explanation about trust or loyalty, but she shook her head slightly. If he wants to be with me, he will be with me, she said. She paused for a moment before continuing. And if one day he doesn't, I'll find out. Another small pause. Either way, I'll be okay. Something about the way she said it made my chest tighten slightly. Not because it sounded cold or detached, but because it sounded incredibly free. She must have seen the confusion on my face because she smiled. People think love means holding on tightly, she said. Like if you loosen your grip for even a moment, the other person might slip away. But I've never believed that. She leaned back in her chair, speaking slowly, as if she'd thought about this many times before. Being with someone doesn't mean owning them. My husband isn't something I need to guard. He isn't mine to trap or control. He's a person, a whole person with his own choices. And every day he wakes up and chooses to be with me. Just like I choose him. She shrugged lightly. If that ever stopped being true, no amount of worrying or checking his phone would change it. I felt a strange mix of admiration and discomfort hearing that, because she was right. Then she explained something that made her perspective make much more sense. I'm happy in my relationship, she said, because I didn't build it on fear. I built it on knowing who I am. She told me that long before she met her husband, she spent years learning how to be comfortable with herself, learning what made her happy, what gave her purpose, and who she was outside of being someone's partner. So, when we met, she said, I wasn't looking for someone to complete me. I already felt complete. I just wanted someone to share my life with. She smiled softly. That changes everything. Because when you don't need someone to fill a hole inside you, you stop trying to control them. You stop worrying about every possible threat. You simply appreciate the fact that they're choosing to be there. I could feel the weight of her words settling somewhere deep inside me. Then she said something I've never forgotten. The moment my worth depends on his choices, I lose myself. And the truth is, what he loves about me is that I haven't lost myself. If I became someone who constantly needed reassurance, someone who was always anxious, always checking, always afraid, I'd slowly destroy the very thing that made our relationship strong. She paused before adding one last thought. Jealousy isn't love, it's fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough, fear of being replaced. But love isn't supposed to live in fear. She explained that real love doesn't tighten its grip. It loosens it, not because it cares less, but because it trusts more. Jealousy whispers, "Am I enough?" Secure love quietly answers, "I already know I am." Confidence in love isn't loud or dramatic. It doesn't demand proof or constant reassurance. It's calm, steady, certain. The strongest relationships aren't built on monitoring each other's every move. They're built on self-respect and trust. When you feel whole within yourself, you don't chase reassurance from someone else. Attachment says, "Don't leave me." Self-worth says, "I'll be okay either way." And strangely enough, that's often what makes people stay. Because love grows where freedom exists, where trust replaces fear, where two people are strong enough on their own, but still choose each other, again and again, every single day.